Welcome to Politics Nation. I'm Al Sharpton. Tonight's lead, will it Mitt Romney returns to the state where he was born on third base, where his daddy was governor, and where folks woke up one day to learn that he thought Detroit should go bankrupt. It's all part of Willard's Every Town Counts tour. He's tasting food at bake shops. He's driving old American cars. And he's repeating his claim that he'd restore the middle class.
I want great jobs for Americans and for Michiganders. I want to see rising wages again. I want to help the American people know that if they work hard, they get an education, they will have a fair shot.
Everyone deserves a fair shot. That's a great sentiment. But don't be fooled. This is the man who Willard is campaigning with today, Governor Rick Snyder. And this is the type of Michigan he believes in. In his first budget, Snyder cut aid for more than 11,000 needy families, including 30,000 children. He slashed school funding by over 8%. Guess what all that made room for? A $1.7 billion tax break for corporations. Those are some messed up priorities, right? Not to Willard.
What we need is to have someone in Washington that will do for Washington what's being done right here in Michigan, and I will.
Hear that? Willard wants to do to America what Snyder's doing to Michigan. I guess that includes the emergency manager law. It allows such people to run any city or school district that is under, quote, financial stress. One person with the power to throw out elected officials and cancel contracts. How's that for democracy? Of course, today's event with Snyder comes on the heels of yesterday's Love Fest in Wisconsin. Romney toured with Scott Walker, a man who's vowed to divide and conquer union workers, and Paul Ryan, a man whose budget guts low-income programs. And yet, here's what Romney talked about in Wisconsin.
My priority is putting Americans back to work. That's job one. People in this country ought to know that they have a fair shot of being successful and fulfilling their dreams.
Let's build the middle class. Really? While standing with those two? Willard can pal around with a union buster and a guy whose budget hurts the poor. He can even campaign with a governor who puts corporate profits over people. But he can't pretend to care about the middle class. He can't say he cares about every town. It's clear what his motives are, and it's clear which party really cares about the middle class.
To me, being middle class is not a number. It's a way of life. It's a value set. It's about a minimum standard of living. It's about being able to own your home and not just rent it. It's being able to live in a safe neighborhood where your kids can walk the streets, where there's a playground that's not polluted, where you can send your kid to a decent school, knowing if they do well, they got a chance to go to college, and if they have that chance, knowing you have a chance to get them there. That's what being a middle-class person is. That's not asking too much. That's who we are. That's what we believe. That's what you're about.
Joining me now is Joan Walsh, editor-at-large for Salon.com and an MSNBC political analyst, and Virg Bonero, the Democratic mayor of Lansing, Michigan, who ran against Governor Snyder in 2010. Thank you both for joining me.
My pleasure.
Mayor, let me start with you first. Do working-class folks in Michigan think Willard is on their side?
Absolutely not. Look, we're fresh off the auto rescue, and we know who's responsible for that, and that's Barack Obama. What's right, what's going right in Michigan really has to be credited to President Barack Obama, because manufacturing is leading Michigan's recovery. The people who are being put back to work, it's in manufacturing, and that stems from the auto industry. And if it hadn't been for Barack Obama and his plan to rescue the auto industry, we wouldn't be even on the map economically. If we would have followed Mitt Romney's advice and let him go bankrupt, we would be wiped off the map. We would have been talking about 1 million more unemployed. We would be in a depression and not a recession. You know, the real surprising thing about this was that Mitt Romney was speaking. He went and visited a pie shop, and I would have thought he's more of a let him eat cake kind of guy.
Well, Joan, let me say this. The optics of trying to act like you're just everybody's friend and everyday guy and every city counts is one thing, but the policies don't match what he's trying to project, and those that are campaigning with him have policies that don't match that.
Right. And, you know, also he's picking some very interesting places for his tour, and he's not picking other places. The place he was today, I think it was Frankenmuth, is 96% white. In the wake of President Obama's announcement on ceasing deportation of young people who were brought here illegally, Reverend Al, he's certainly not seeking out any opportunities to dialogue with the Latino community. He's in a place that's very white. It's also older than the Michigan average. So he's taking we know which towns count under Mitt Romney, and we kind of know which towns don't count. He's also given up on, I guess this is a good thing, he's no longer saying, hey, President Obama, listen to me. He took my advice on the auto bailout. That wasn't flying, but he's certainly staying away from the president's obvious successes on that front, and he's continuing to have this kind of, it's not blueberry pie, it's pie in the sky, very chiffon pie, very light on any kind of details about how he would put middle-class people back to work, back in their homes with their wages rising. There are no details except corporate tax cuts and deregulation.
Well, I have something to say about him and blueberry pie, but we'll leave that. Mayor, let me say that Governor Snyder, who you ran against, campaigned today. He said that Romney should not attack the bailout. He told the New York Times in November, I would have had some differences on how they did it, but I'm not going to second guess it. The most important thing is the results, and the auto industry is doing very well today. That's what he told the New York Times in November. Today he was campaigning with Mitt Romney, who you quoted earlier as said, let them go bankrupt, the auto industry.
Well, exactly. And like your other guest said, he didn't mention the auto industry, and for good reason, because he's running from his record, and the president is running on his record. Look, he's got to run from it. He wants people to forget about it. He wants to reinvent history. In our hour of need, when we were on the ropes, he wasn't there. He was AWOL. Worse than AWOL, he was fighting on the other side. He tried to stop it. He was against the auto rescue, and that is Michigan. That's what we're about. We make things. He doesn't get people that work for a living, that roll up their sleeves and go out and actually make things and contribute to GDP, gross domestic product. That's what it's about, and that's what this country needs more of, and that's what President Barack Obama delivered to Michigan and to this country. The backbone of this country is manufacturing, and he's bringing it back, including the investments in green energy, which are taking off in Michigan. In terms of wind turbine, we're making wind turbines, we're making solar panels. That's because of, and battery technology. That's because of the president's policies and the president's investments, and by the way, our previous governor, who also worked with the president to make it happen. Michigan is enjoying the fruits of those public investments and those public-private partnerships.
Well, not only Michigan, Mr. Mayor, beyond Michigan, people in the auto industry, the fact is that the state that was saved and the auto industry that was saved by President Obama's auto bailout, 1.45 million people are working as a direct result of the action.
Exactly. No wonder Romney doesn't want to talk about it. Of course, because he was on the wrong side of history. It's a terrible thing, Reverend Al, isn't it, to be on the wrong side of history? But that's where Mitt Romney was. In our darkest time in Michigan, when we were fighting for our very survival, and like you say, it would have been way beyond Michigan because the supply chain would have affected millions of jobs. The president did the right thing. He had the courage and the guts to do the right thing. And guys like Romney were on the sidelines throwing stones.
Now, Joan, the bus tour that he was on, not only did he not mention the bailout that he was against in Detroit, he conveniently avoided Freeport, Illinois, a city hurt by Bain Capital, and close to where he was on yesterday. Now, it's very important because here's something that he's raised himself. Bain Capital is his example as a job creator. He's right there next to a city, or very close to a city, that Bain was involved in, and clearly he kept going. He didn't go and show us the results of Bain's work.
Well, right. That's because Bain's investment in that technology company, Reverend Al, actually wound up costing it jobs. So it's if he's going to talk about creating jobs, middle-class jobs, that would not be a place to take us. I think that's an interesting point, too. Maybe there is a place. Why doesn't he go to a place that maybe he helped he can point to really concretely that he helped turn around when he was at Bain, probably because he can't. And I just think that he touring these cities, it's a very lovely, bucolic, old-fashioned, golden age kind of imagery. But it doesn't really pertain to the way the country lives today, and doesn't really help us think about how we're going to get those manufacturing jobs back, when that's where the president has really been outstanding.
Now, Mr. Mayor, Romney said the other day on the trail that he spoke with someone who had to fill out a 33-page form to change his address. Listen to this.
This optometrist wanted to change his billing address. This is so he can get reimbursement for the federal government for the services he provides for the poor and seniors. The form he gets to change addresses is 33 pages long. 33 pages long. He calls someone to ask how to fill it out. He calls someone in government. They tell him what to do. He sends it in. They send it back. Wasn't done right. Got to do it again. Another 33 pages.
I mean, doesn't this say that Willard can't even tell the truth about little things? I mean, that's a little outrageous.
Well, of course it's that. But beyond that, Reverend Al, the guy has nothing to talk about. I mean, it's like Joan said earlier. He has no plan, no vision, no alternative. He comes here, all he does is bash the president, bash government, and mow down on pie. I mean, give me a break. He's running for president of the United States. What is your plan, Mitt? What is your plan to put people back to work? We don't need a corptocracy. We don't need any more trickle-down economics. I don't know about you. We're tired of being trickled down here in Michigan. We've had enough. We need a government that's going to work for working people, and that's what President Barack Obama is trying to do. He's got a Congress working against him at every turn, throwing up hurdles and playing games. We need the president back. We need a Democratic Congress, and we need people that stand up and fight for working people.
Can the president win Michigan? What does it look like out there quickly,
Absolutely.
Mr. Mayor?
The president can win Michigan.
What
the
do you
president
think,
will
Joan?
win.
Yes, I think he can he will very likely win Michigan. I expect him to win Michigan.
Joan Walsh, Mayor Verge Bonero, and Mr. Mayor, work on your energy next time I have you on.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time tonight.